Hi there. I thought my last video would be my last video of 2023. However, a thought that has come to mind, I think, is very important, to me at least, and it really is something that I needed to share in some way, if only for clarity for myself. I have struggled with the thought of, can I really call myself a photographer? Am I just a gear geek? Am I just a guy who likes the toys? And that was never an easy question to answer because quite often I really just did like the toys. So what does that mean? What does that mean as a photographer? Well, too often we do get wrapped up in the technology, and marketing works. And marketing people will convince us that what we have is not good enough anymore. It was good enough a few years ago, but it's not good enough now. Now look for a moment at some of the great photographers during the film era. Now I realize that during the film era, you didn't have to worry about, improvements in sensors or things like that. Instead, you had a camera that had a particular film format, and you bought the best film available for that particular format. If a better film came along, then you just put that in your camera and got the improvement right away. So the hardware itself was quite often of very little importance to the photographer. For instance, someone like Henri Cartier-Bresson shot with a Leica. From what I understand, he upgraded cameras only out of necessity when one basically wore out. He shot primarily on one focal length. Yes, he used other focal lengths. He was not simply a 50mm guy, but 50mm was his favorite, and that's what he used quite often. You look at other photographers like, take Mary Ellen Mark as an example. She used a variety of different cameras, but basically it was only because the tool best suited the job that she was doing at the time. Nowadays, some people get on a constant upgrade path, and I've been guilty of that, very much so. In fact, right now is probably the first time in a very long time that I at least have an amount of stability, you might say, with my cameras themselves. Now, I'm not going to talk about gear here because that is kind of counterproductive. The point is that the gear I have does what I need it to do. Why do we need new gear if what we have does what we need it to do? Notice I'm stressing that. If I were a wildlife photographer, yes, there is gear I would need. If I were if I were a macro photographer, yes, there is gear I would need. There are many different aspects of photography that require many different types of hardware. But once you have the hardware required to do the job you need, why do you need to upgrade? I've been on the same bandwagon. I mean, I've basically been dragged along by this. I still, look at ads and videos about gear and say, wow, I wish I had that. But I think I've reached a point in my life where I look at what I do have and what I have achieved with what I do have and realize that I don't think it would make that much difference to my photos. It may make life a little easier. It may make capturing the shot a little easier. But then again, some people claim that we have reached a point with photography, with cameras at least, where they do so much for us that they are taking some of the enjoyment out of the process. Maybe that's why Fujifilm cameras that at least on the surface look and act somewhat like the cameras we would have had 40 years ago, that's why they're so popular. Now, of course, underneath all of the buttons and switches and dials, you're still talking about modern technology. You're still talking about a modern camera. And there's nothing wrong with having a modern camera. The only point is, use what you need. Now, I have to put one little point in here, and that is that if you are one of the few who has lots of disposable income, to you, the cameras themselves are an important part of the hobby. Well, as I've said once before, knock yourself out. Have fun. Enjoy it. But if you are like so many other people who are on a limited budget, who, especially in this day and age of rather rampant inflation, finding it difficult to keep up with the hobby, well, stop trying to keep up. As I've said on many times before, this is right now being videoed on an original OMD EM1 Olympus camera, using the old Power Zoom 12 to 50 that was introduced as the optional kit lens on the original EM5. So it's old gear. Does it serve the purpose that I need here? Yes. Do I need to update it? No. I have purchased with my son an old VG10, which is a Sony APS-C censored handycam. It's basically a camcorder that I am going to put here so that I can free up this old EM1 to actually get out in the field again. But that is a case of old gear bought at a real bargain price to serve a specific need. That's fine. So guys, evaluate yourself. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody else. Evaluate yourself. I have come to terms with the fact that I may be somewhat becoming maybe a photographer. I may be somewhat maybe getting away from just being a gear geek. I may be somewhat maybe starting to enjoy the image and the process more than the gear. I kind of like it. Well, folks, this will definitely be my last video of 2023. I hope that you have a great holiday season. I hope that 2024 brings you all of the good fortune that I'm sure you deserve. And, well, if you liked the video, give it a like. If you want to see more of my videos, subscribe. And bye for now.